Let's podcast alongside Joe Giglio. I'm Joe Ovies inside Eford Studios in downtown Raleigh. Thanks to Empire Properties and thanks to Copiers Plus. Check them out online at copiers-plus.com. Print management, document management. Do they have wall management, Joe?
Of course they do.
Drywall management.
All my people taking care of us.
You were a busy beaver this weekend.
I was. I cleaned up, made some new adjustments. Our friends at Color Graphic, those foam boards, kind of helping us. And, I love those pictures from Ethan Hyman and Robert Willett. But when I was putting them in glass and putting them in a frame, it was causing all kinds of problems.
Yeah, it was causing some reflection issues. So big thanks to the mat there. I also feel like you are redecorating your side of the room in honor of the new basketball season.
It's here,
right? It's finally here.
We made it.
November. It's Halloween is over. We flipped to November 1. I thought it was appropriate when we saw Matt Davis at State Farm. He's Mr. Memorabilia King. He's got this 1983 ACC calendar. And I thought it was appropriate. If you're watching on YouTube, I'll pull it up. I put it on social media as well. And again, this is from November of 1983. And I felt like this was the most appropriate thing given how football has been going here in the Triangle and how these teams are set up. NC State, Carolina, Duke, even Wake Forest. We expect big seasons out of these big four. And this image, Thanksgiving, where instead of a turkey, you have a basketball and you have some wonderful illustrations of local mascots and low key, perhaps they knew who was the old NNO cartoonist.
Jack Pittman is his name.
Thank you. Maybe Jack Pittman knew back in 1983 that Virginia Tech would eventually be in the league because they spared the turkey for the basketball.
But there's the Hokie.
There he is. He's hanging out behind a very bad-looking yellow jacket and a very odd-looking Maryland Terrapin. But anyway, that was November of 1983, and I feel like those are the vibes going into this month. As today, Joe, today is the official start of the college basketball season. It doesn't get started with a bang, but locally, I think people are just kind of hyped for the change in the season. Cooper Flag in real time, North Carolina with their pieces, and of course, NC State, go and do it again.
Just go and do it again.
Just go and do it again.
You can do it.
Don't give me this 37 years business, Coach Keats. Go do it again.
All three teams in action tonight. State, obviously, with their banner ceremony against USC Upstate. We'll see what the Wolfpack looks like. I know a lot of anxiety after their Lees McRae preseason game.
I know.
They will not have Mike James. There's going to be about 4 weeks without Mike James, one of their Louisville transfers who has the potential to be the bus driver for this team. Brentley Huntley Hatsfield in the interim. Their big man, also from Louisville. You got to get used to him being kind of that captain, if you will, the guy they throw into the post and see if when they need a basket, that's where they're going to go to. Carolina, they get Elon. Hubert Davis famously gave us a yellow flag post-game press conference. I suspect they'll handle Elon quite nicely tonight. Love all the new parts that they have around, two guys who are really obviously going to make a big difference for them this season in Elliot Cadeau and RJ Davis. We know who RJ Davis is, the ACC Player of the Year.
Yeah.
And then you have the Duke War Machine. Telling you right now, take the number. It's not going to get any better than 10-1. Take it now. Because after they beat Maine by 50 tonight, it's 30 right now, by the way. Take that first. Take that, number one, and then take them to win the national championship. Because that number is going to go down to like 2-1 by the time they start conference play.
It's interesting. Look, I'm not in disagreement that this basketball season, there's been a lot of anticipation, and not just because of Cooper Flag, right? I was actually talking to somebody from ESPN that said, if you thought, or if you think the Cooper Flag promotion is ridiculous now, wait till we get into the thick of the season and it's cross-promoted, not just within the ACC, but in other leagues too. Like SEC basketball fans, like all you Kentucky fans out there, you're gonna be mad because they're gonna be promoting the fact that Cooper Flag is gonna be coming up in a game and things like that. But what's interesting is we're hyped for basketball season, and maybe we've learned our lessons to not be duped by NC State and North Carolina seemingly turning things around here the last couple of weeks on the football field with 3 games to go.
It's not duped. It's more of like, well, what took you so long in the case of NC State?
Yeah.
I think in the case of Carolina, like they're a classic case of you're never really as bad as we think you are, and you're probably not as good as we think you are. I think Carolina is in a spot in football right now that they haven't been in. And that is, people are telling them that they're bad. All of these other teams with Drake May and Sam Howell and Mack Brown and his lollipop and sunshine, that's his default mode.
Mm-hmm.
Well, finally this year, everyone was like, no, wait a second. The Emperor has no clothes.
Empty calories, UNC. Nothing but empty calories.
And ever since then, ever since people have turned on them, they've actually played pretty well because they haven't been in this situation before. And now here they go. They're not playing for Mack's job because what is there really to play for? But they are definitely motivated by all the things that have happened around the program. I like the way that they've played the last 2 weeks. Defense has been there. Yes, Florida State is garbage. But you know what they did when they went down to Florida State? Amari and Hampton, bring us home.
Yeah.
And he did. And their defense has now put together 2 solid weeks right in a row. Obviously, their schedule is not very difficult. They get the week off this week.
But that's not a given. That's not a given for any triangle school when you talk about the schedule, right? Because again, we've seen a bad Florida State team take out a good North Carolina team.
Sure.
Okay. So that
in years past. Yeah.
That factors in. Yeah. It's funny, as I was watching that game and I was thinking about today's show, I had dubbed, back-to-back things that happened for Mack Brown that are typically elusive for North Carolina football. They go up to Charlottesville and they have a comfortable win. And then they essentially get Florida State to do the classic meme of player has disconnected from the match. I mean, I don't know if it was real or not. I haven't been able to verify this or not, but there was a video going viral from Doak Campbell where theoretically it was a recruit decommitting in real time because that guy focused on his phone as he was typing out a message. I don't know if that was real or not. But the point is, it shows you how down bad things are at Florida State. Their conference slate is done. They finished the year at 1-7.
Preseason favorites.
1-7.
I thought they were going to win the league.
So I have dubbed, given the last 2 weeks, I jotted it down, like we're having this, I'm workshopping here, but it's essentially the Mack Brown, we can only speculate he's going to retire tour. Like the Coach K, we had the retirement tour.
Sure. Officially announced, we have it, right? With Mack Brown, it's like, we can only speculate he's going to retire tour. Can I put that on a shirt? It might be a little bit wonky, but
I'll workshop it. But I can see NC State fans kind of seeing what North Carolina's going through right now. We're going, oh, wait a minute. This is really going to happen, isn't it? North Carolina's feeling good. Mack Brown, we can only speculate he's going to retire. He's going to walk out of here. Tell him, you know what? Things were pretty good around here. It's pretty good for Carolina football. And we got out with a win.
Don't forget, they won 4 games before I got here.
That's right. And, we walk out here with a win against NC State. If you flip that game, we're talking about these programs differently, blah, 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 blah. Carolina fans are feeling it.
919-444-2211. Call the OG Sports phone and curse or don't.
Your nemesis, Paul, called in. 704 number. Let's go.
Hey, guys, it's Paul. There's a bit of a chill in the air. The leaves are on the ground. Duke football was surprising early and fading fast in November, or as I like to call it, the Mack Brown special. Carolina football and state football are pulling Dave Doran specials. We are rapidly approaching Kenan Memorial Stadium on the final game of the year. 2 7-4 teams enter. One team emerges 8-4, triangle good, and talks endless amounts of shit about beating a 7-5 team. Oh, triangle football is so back, boys.
But is it?
To its level.
To its level?
Yes.
Okay, I'll agree. Here's what's funny about this. Paul gets it. I think most of our listeners get it. But we did hear from state fans who are wondering when Dave Doran's going to get it.
There was a lot of frustration. It's funny. They win.
They win 59 points on Stanford, Joe. 59 points. They haven't put up that many points in a game since 2021 when they beat South Florida, and that was an anomaly in that season. But when's the last time they put 59 points on an ACC opponent?
Never.
And I don't care if it's a new ACC opponent.
Never.
I get that it's Stanford, but holy crap, 59 points. And if you look at the OG Sports phone, people are like, where the hell has that been? They're not happy. Not should be happy we won. It was like,
no.
Where the hell has that been?
Why don't you make the whole season out of the black box? Yeah. NC State has played in 504 ACC football games. That was the first time that they've scored 59 in an ACC game and only the 7th time they've hit the 50-point mark. Shouts to Mikey G, the last to do it in 2011, the big comeback against Maryland.
Jeez. Maybe it's something about the California schools. Maybe Dave's good against California schools. If you could not make the whole plane out of an off week, make the whole conference out of California schools. Maybe that's why Randy Woodson's like, whoa, wait a minute.
Hey man, I gotta add these 2 schools.
Wait a minute,
sir.
I got it figured out. I was at Carey Band Day, and I was sitting next to another Enloe parent who's a big NC State guy, and he saw that score, and he goes, "And maybe Dave's got something against." The California schools. That's his hook. Maybe it is. And I thought to myself, you know what?
We're the real Block S logo, not you.
You know what? There's something to this, because who backed out of the ever elusive 10th win for Dave Doran?
UCLA.
They knew.
That's right.
They knew.
You will pay for UCLA's sins.
So from here on out, any California school, Southern Cal, put it on the schedule.
I mean, they are California University at Los Angeles.
Right?
California, Berkeley.
Get it on the schedule. Dave will absolutely take vengeance upon the California schools because of the UCLA game, because he's not been able to get to his 10th win, which, put a pin in that, because I have a theory that I floated to Lauren Brownlow on ACC Panic Room. I want to float this theory to you as to why we're kind of seeing this with Dave and NC State, and asking the question, where the hell was this offense, which was promised? At least it's showing up, but why is it happening now? Why could this not have happened earlier? Some of that conversations with CJ Bailey as well, and why they didn't just believe in CJ Bailey as a true freshman and building around that rather than going the grad transfer route again. The last 2 seasons.
I think the number one thing coaches struggle with right now in the NIL era is replacement value.
Yeah.
And players, how much to pay players, what positions to pay them at, and what it means to have a guy at a position and his replacement value.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the number one thing they're struggling with. Now, could they have guessed that Grayson McCall would show up and not be a functional player?
No.
I mean,
they
could have known, yes, from his previous concussion injury that it was a risk, but I would say they probably knew that and said the risk was worth it, right?
Yeah.
Obviously it wasn't, because you had something in CJ Bailey. Fair enough. They're moving him along now. You also have to give them credit for finding Bailey and developing him, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's that. B, and this is the part that I think that really annoys NC State fans. And the truth be told, it annoys me. And it has from his very first season. He simply does not identify the players on his roster that should be on the field and on the field regularly. Hollywood Smothers, is pretty good.
Yeah.
Justin Jolie, who they're now worried they're going to be in a bidding war for.
Right.
And they should have known from the beginning, well, now wait a second. We brought back Kevin Concepcion, who's a smaller receiver guy. Okay. No Rodgers and Wesley Grimes. Yeah, a little bit bigger than KC, but they're not huge.
Yeah.
Oh, we brought in this tight end who's a big target and is always going to be the best friend of a quarterback. Why did it take you 7 games to figure out who the tight end was and who your primary receiving threat should be downfield and over the middle of the field? That shouldn't happen. And it happens literally. Other than the Kelvin Harmon year, where they were like, oh, hey, Kelvin Harmon and Jacoby Myers are really good. Remember, they had 1,000-yard receiving seasons. Eli Drinkwitz made a bunch of money. Yeah, there's a reason, because those 2 guys were obviously the answer and should be getting the football. Same with Jay Sam to an extent and Naheem, right? Naheem's last year.
Yeah.
But every other time it's been this mix. Even last year
was
oh no, wait a second. This KC guy,
he's pretty good.
He's pretty good. We should move him around and do all these. Yes, you should.
So it's funny you bring that up, because
I think the fans are annoyed at that specifically.
You don't have to think that. You don't even have to say it. I mean, it's right there in the sports.
919 444 2211. Call the OG Sports phone and curse or don't.
This is from a 919 number.
I know it's Stanford and they're not great, but I'm just glad to see, for once, Dave not resting on a lead and just running the score up. Because right now you can see the defense isn't going to do it. But this is all we've asked for years, is just stop sitting on a lead and just run it up. Thank the Lord.
I would like to go back to the Wake Forest game where they thought 10 points was going to be enough. With a defense that has struggled to be consistent. I'm not saying that NC State's defense hasn't come up with big plays this season and that Davin Vann hasn't been excellent this year. That's not what I'm getting at. What I am getting at is on a day that you honor Peyton Wilson, you are reminded you don't have Peyton Wilson, and that you're going to have. And that was always the question this year for NC State. Can Dave be comfortable winning a different way? He talked the talk, but in actual execution wasn't exactly there. And I get back to that Wake Forest game where 10 points wasn't going to get it done.
I'm not betraying any trust here. I saw Peyton.
Oh, you did?
On Saturday. We were in similar states, if you will.
I see.
I mean, he was so gracious with everyone on Saturday in the RV lot and throughout the stadium. Like, he stopped, took pictures of everybody. He was having some kind of day.
Sure.
And so everyone's, like asking him this and that and the other thing. And so I finally, we were talking a little bit, and I said, hey man, Tomlin's that guy, isn't he? And he goes, yeah, he's whatever is like what you see with him is what you get, man.
Yep.
There ain't no games with him.
Yep.
And so like everyone, we're kind of talking a little bit that this and that. And then I go, hey man, tell Russ to fuck off from me. And he goes, everybody with that guy, everybody treats him. He's like, I just go up to him and I'm just like, come on, man. Whole pack of what? Come on.
Tell him you're still mad he didn't show up on the podcast.
919-444-2211. Call the OG Sports phone and curse or don't.
All right, this is from a 619 number.
Hey guys, I could complain about some things that I saw today. There weren't that many, but they're still there. But as an NC State fan, been around for the whole Doran era and a long time before that, sometimes it just feels nice to beat the fuck out of somebody. All right, thanks, guys. Go Pack.
From another 919 number.
Hey, Joes. NC State just scored more points than I thought was possible. Did 2J and an I listen to the podcast? To be fair, I am on Joe's side. Still think until done against somebody better than Stanford, they should move on. Thanks.
Yeah, we'll see how the rest of the season goes out. Again, the Duke game is going to be fascinating for NC State this upcoming weekend. We'll get to Duke in a second. I'll tell you where I was right and where I was wrong about that Duke-Miami game. Another 919 number.
Hey, guys. I just wanted to ask a favor. If you guys ever get a chance to interview Dave or at least go to another one of his pressers and can ask a question, I love the fact that it seems like every year throughout the season, the team gets better, which I think is a sign of a great coach. Can you figure out how the hell we can have a bye week in the first part of the season so we can be good in August? Because I just cannot figure out why this team cannot be ready at the beginning of the season, but towards the end, all of a sudden, they've just got it all figured out. All right. Thanks, guys.
It gets back to your, why don't you just make the entire plane out of a black box?
NC State football. We them boys. Ah, shit. Are we them boys?
No. You're not the Cowboys. Although I do have a question later on about who is actually more NC State than NC State. But we'll put a pin in that. I mentioned the Duke situation, where I was right about Duke, where I was wrong about Duke with Miami. I was right in that game was going to be a lot more competitive than people thought. The 20-point spread and all that sort of stuff, and how they were talking about it. I was like, no. Duke's going to be in this game, and Duke might win this game.
I felt bad for Duke, honestly, because they were ahead, they were controlling that thing, and then all of a sudden Miami was like, "Oh shit, we're Miami." And it was like,
so that's where
what just happened.
That's also where I was right in this game. It was going to be competitive.
Yeah.
For Duke to win, everything had to go right for them. And you're also banking on the fact that Cam Ward and that offense were not going to have a typical Cam Ward and that offense moment, which is exactly what happened from that point on when they were up 11 in the third quarter.
Whiplash.
Which I joked, maybe Vegas doesn't know. No, Vegas ended up knowing because
I know.
It's because they ended up covering.
I mean, how though?
Because that's the thing. So
it's wild.
I still think that where if Manny Diaz made one mistake in this game, he was thinking that field goals were going to keep up with whatever Miami was going to do. No. You still had to be aggressive in the situation. And while Manny did get his revenge on Mack Brown by coming back from a 20-point deficit, he was not going to get it on the guy who replaced him down at Miami, unfortunately, because of Cam Ward. I'm not going to give any sort of assignment of, hey, man, Manny got out-coached by Mario Cristobal. No, it's called they got that dude and you don't. It's that simple.
Sometimes does come down to. I just made that face because I don't know if you remember the first time we talked to Mike Elko.
Yeah,
was after the divisions broke up, and I told him, I go, Duke for some reason got somebody mad because remember they had life earmuffs for you. They had life very easy on the coastal side.
Oh, right,
and they
right,
kind of
right.
cruised it along.
Sure.
Then all of a sudden, when the new model came out, it was like, remember last year they had to play Florida State and Clemson. And now this year I'm laughing because I don't know if you know this, but Duke, Carolina, and State, I think, are all 2 and 3 in the league. But look at Duke's schedule. Look who they've actually lost to and how they've had to play.
I know.
Might be the 2 teams that end up in the championship.
I know. That's the funny part about it.
How did they lose the scheduling roulette?
And they should have beaten SMU.
They should have.
Straight up. They should have beaten SMU.
Who you know, I wonder if our guy Pat Narduzzi is like, hey, I mean, just go beat SMU.
Just go beat SMU.
That's all you gotta do.
So here's where we are.
Dude, they got worked like a rib.
Dude, here's the funny thing about this.
Rib.
Here's where if I was Jim Phillips, I'd be pissed right now. Absolutely pissed. I'd be pissed at Clemson right now.
Oh, for losing to Louisville at home.
Losing to Louisville at home and losing in a way that was completely within your control, but for whatever reason, just there was execution issues. I didn't think that Louisville did anything good, which real quick, let me wrap the point on the Duke NC State game, right?
Yeah, they're together this week. 3:30. Thank the TV people.
I don't think I'll have the ability to do an after dark that day unless you want to do it like from me in a Wilmington hotel room after dark.
And we'll after dark because it will actually be dark.
Okay.
I can always figure something. Maybe Ben will come on with me.
Maybe Ben will come on.
Coordinators.
That's cool. That's cool. All right. And I know Lauren's always available as well. But the thing about Duke NC State is that given what I've seen from Duke and who they've played and how they've gone about their games, I still think that Duke can win that game
this week.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Unless Dave doubles down on his offense and putting his best players in position to win. Okay. Because I still think that Duke offensively has some issues.
Holes.
They've got some holes, right? So we could have a track meet in that game for all I know. Who's to say, right? But anyway, back to the Louisville Clemson thing and SMU and Florida State's role in all this, right? SMU does have a loss to BYU, which helps with the second team in the college football playoff math.
That's crazy. It's wild to think.
Right.
I told you they were going to be good. I did not predict this. I'm sorry. I could not have predicted this.
So they handled their business against another undefeated ACC squad in Pitt.
No, they hammered
them. Pitt. And the rest of SMU's slate is very manageable.
Whoa.
Very manageable.
I didn't notice that.
Very manageable.
Boston College, Virginia, and Cal.
Yeah. So now Cal's been spicy.
Yeah.
And SMU still has, I don't know, like we saw against Duke, 6 turnovers in them and still got lucky to win that game. So all things being equal, if I look at it at the paper, I look at the chalk, then SMU is going to make it to the championship game. And we're going to have a Miami special, the Rhett Lashley, Mario Cristobal, SMU connections, Miami, and all this other kind of stuff. But this is where it was damning
Miami against JV Miami.
Yes. This is where it was damning for Clemson and the ACC. It's an easier sell for Clemson to be the second team,
sure,
than it is for an SMU squad to take a second loss in an ACC championship game to Miami, and your other loss was BYU. If you're Clemson and you get to the ACC championship game and you lose to Miami, hey, man, it is what it is. Oh, who's your one loss? Oh, that Georgia squad? All right, cool, man. I get it. Let that thing ride. And I can't believe I'm saying this. It's pissing me off. The way Clemson played in that game.
It's almost like they were ACC good.
And the way they weren't even ACC good.
It's almost like somebody told you that.
The way they played in that game with their inability to execute on top of Dabo doubling down on things that, do you know you're down a couple of scores? You know you're down a couple of scores, right?
They struggle with the urgency thing. They did the same thing against Georgia, man. I'm telling you.
It's like, come on, man. The time's running out before you know it. And you're still deciding to kick. Oh, okay. Rather than a 2-point conversion. Okay. I think Bob Wischusen was on the call for that Clemson Louisville game. And he was outwardly like, what are you doing, Dabo? Like, do I need to run down on the field and point to the scoreboard for you and the time? What's going on here, man? So it was a failure to execute on Clemson's side of the ball. And Louisville didn't do anything magic on offense. Had a pretty pedestrian day on offense. Where they excelled was the 2-block field goals and keeping Clemson off schedule defensively. I wouldn't say that they were excellent defensively. I think they just kind of put Clemson in a weird position to corner themselves. But now with that loss, it's a wrap. Clemson's done there. We could talk about 2 lost SEC teams. They sit outside the ACC championship game with 2 losses. They ain't going, which of course they might not even get to 2 losses because given what we saw out of South Carolina, pouring it out against Texas A&M, I'm not even sure that Clemson's going to get past South Carolina at the end of the season.
Don't hear the words. Feels like you were right.
No, we don't know yet.
Not yet?
We don't know yet.
Not yet.
Because
no, I was right that Clemson's ACC good, though. You guys were convinced that, no, ACC, Clemson's got it figured out. They're better. They're going to run the table. They're this and they're that. And it's like,
I did think they were going to run the table.
I thought they were going to run the table too, but I never confused what they were.
Here's where this is why I don't think you're right yet.
About Clemson?
About South Carolina.
Oh, that part's, yeah, we still got to see it because to your point, if Clemson's out of the ACC championship, out of the college football playoff,
Super Bowl,
they are going to pour it out for that football game. You are absolutely right about that. And we're going to get we're still Clemson, sir.
Okay.
We are still Clemson.
So there's that. So I want to hold off on that. Really what this is all a big lead up to is my big question. Who's more NC State? Because last week we pissed off Texas A&M fans. You pissed off Texas A&M fans.
To be perfectly honest
right,
with
it wasn't really like
comparing you to NC State and saying you're NC State with money is not an insult.
No, it's not.
Like that's the part of confused bag.
Yeah.
So, me being a jerk and being like telling you what's going to happen, I get that part.
Yeah.
Being dismissive, but calling you NC State with money, that's not an insult. That's a compliment.
So, and so much so that Bomani texted us after they lost to South Carolina going, man, if that's not the most NC State thing ever, then I don't know what is. He's right. So the question is, who's more NC State? Is it Texas A&M, who we've established? They're the second fiddle to Texas. Sure. Blah, 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 blah. They can leave for the SEC, but we always knew that the SEC wanted the other home. Texas, all this other stuff. Or is it Penn State and James Franklin?
They're both in interesting situations. Now, clearly, James Franklin, Ohio State is his Clemson.
Yes.
And they cannot break through.
It's not even just Ohio State. It's Michigan, too.
Well,
what's his record against top 5 teams?
Yeah, it's 1-13, I believe.
1-14, 1-13 or something like that. You look at James Franklin's record against AP top 25 in general. Yeah. It's not great. When they have to actually play somebody good, it ain't great.
It's not good.
What is that? Does that sound familiar?
Sounds like somebody. A lot of expectations. Yeah. Has a great basement.
Oh yeah.
Right. He's like Penn State is NC State on steroids.
Yeah.
Because their basement's 10 wins. Right. Now, here's the interesting thing for both Texas A&M and Penn State, and they need to quickly reconcile this.
Mm-hmm.
Penn State is still going to make the college football playoff, but they have to get their heads back on.
Yeah.
Because they're not the type of team that overwhelms you with talent.
Yeah, fair.
They have to be locked in and play well. They can still make the playoff. Okay. Mm-hmm. Texas A&M, same situation. Now you can't afford to stumble. But if you end up beating Texas at the end of the year, you could still make the SEC championship game because this was only their first SEC loss.
Mm-hmm.
And you could still make the playoff, even if you don't end up making the SEC championship game. But you got to get this thing back in your head quickly. You have to be able to recover from this.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that NC State has never really been good about is recovering quickly.
Yeah.
They let things linger and fester. So we'll find out which one has the NC State in them.
Housekeeping.
Brought to you by Enovana. Check them out online at enovana.com. Green Cleaning Solutions. You can check them out. Again, enovana.com.
If you have mess inside your mansion or trash in your cabana, get it clean with Enovana.
I mentioned OG fans. You can go to ogtrianglemedia.com today. Sign up for an OG fans subscription. $13 a month. You can save by buying for the year. What do you get with that? Exclusive podcast and a wonderful newsletter written by Joe Giglio. Lauren Brallow, who actually has something happy to write about today when it comes to the Carolina Panthers, right? We got hockey coverage, and we're also bringing women's basketball coverage to OG Triangle Media, thanks to our friend Mitch Northrum. So go to ogtrianglemedia.com today. Sign up. Go check out the Panic Room. We got an OG on business that will drop this week. We got Law of the Wolf, all sorts of great stuff. Speaking of OG Triangle Media, I look at the numbers. I see who's listening. And I know that we have some new people who have come on.
Okay.
As you know, look, it's a grind. A lot of people do wait a minute, you guys are doing a podcast? Like, yeah, we are. So here's how you can help with things like discovery so we can continue to keep this thing growing. You can rate us on your favorite podcast app. Apple and Spotify are the two big ones. Give us 5 stars. It's why we say 5 stars only, positive vibes only. Leave a review as well. Reviews help with discovery as well. You can just say, hey, love the podcast, or love the podcast, but I don't agree with whatever, but still give us 5 stars because that's what matters. And obviously, if you're watching on YouTube, hit the likes, get in the comment section. We'll hang out in the comment section from time to time as well. All those things help with the discoverability of the podcast. So go and do that. Speaking of discoverability and help, our corporate champions help us, including our guy, Matt Davis, over at State Farm. We were there last week for an OG Live. I was sweating like a madman in that Jake from State Farm polo under my with a shirt under that. And best part about it is listening from people. Had a couple comments on YouTube saying, oh, so that's what Matt Davis looks like. Listeners who have switched over to State Farm with Matt Davis, saved a ton of money. And they're like, great dude. Nice to see him in person, quote unquote. And always finding ways to save you money as well. So call Matt Davis today at 919-779-8277 or go to insuregarner.com or theoginsurance.com. With all the college football talk and the college basketball talk, it is time to head on over to Home Field Apparel, homefieldapparel.com. They got all sorts of great stuff to outfit you for this upcoming basketball season. New drops all the time. Homefieldapparel.com is the website. Use the promo code OG24 to save 15% off your order. Speaking of the G, I'll see the sign again today. Hometown Realty, myhtr.com. Yes, there it is. I know I'm not too far from the rink for a practice Monday. Look, they're here. What's important about our corporate champions is local, actual people. Pick up the phone, talk to them, and they know the area. That's what it's all about. And if you're looking for a new home or you're looking to sell your home, Hometown Realty can help you out with people here that get it and none of this guaranteed business offer. Speaking of people that are here, can help you out and get the area. Sports fans, they might even have a bar that you can check out Bills games as they beat the Dolphins. We're talking about Whitaker and Hamer.
Maybe review an HOA agreement for you. So aggressive.
Can we turn that into a social media series?
Yeah.
Joe fights the HOA. Wonder if I can get clearance for the Clash. You know, I fought the HOA and I won.
I know.
Thanks to Whitaker and Hamer. So check them out. WH.lawyer. Again, that's WH.lawyer.
To celebrate.
Joe, they
It's
did
time.
it. They did it. How do we
Time
get
to
down?
celebrate.
Let's do this. Got a busted up old party favor horn. Do you want one?
Whoa.
I mean, I don't know
Does
where
it work?
It works. The kids have, I don't know what the kids have done with that stuff. I got a hat for you. We got hats here. What else? I'm going to have to put a hat on for this as well. I got a tiara. This is technically for the new year, but you know, that's the
Automatic, supersonic, Panthers win.
There we go.
Funky, fresh.
Okay, I'm gonna have to do my headphones like this. I'm gonna have to put them on the side. So this actually looks like a dunce cap. Hopefully nobody memes the imagery that we have right now. Also, when the Panthers win, you know what that means, right? Because I was convinced that the Panthers owner David Tepper was trying to. Oh man, I'm uncomfortable with my headphones here. You know what? I'm just gonna have to go headphone free. The point that I was trying to make is that
Tell me something good.
The point that I was trying to make was that we were convinced for a while there that David Tepper was going full major league, just like completely tanking this organization so that he could move it to wherever it was that he wanted to move.
Yeah.
So
Toronto,
we said, all right, every time they win, we're going to remove an article of clothing like Major League. Now, I had forgotten about this because it's been a long ass time since the Carolina Panthers have won a game.
Yep.
But once I remembered, it's time to go. Done. We removed the hat. We removed the scarf.
For those 2
The
wins.
tie-dye shirt is the next thing to go.
Perfect.
Yay. Success. All right. I'm taking this hat off. Put my headphones back on so I can feel.
Feels like a tinfoil hat. I like it.
It really
I
does.
feel like I'm picking up extraterrestrial. Get those conspiracy theories are flowing.
Here's the thing.
Cooper Flag.
Here's the thing about the Panthers. I really have nothing negative to say. I really don't. Because why am I going to get on this microphone and hit publish on a podcast, hit publish on YouTube, can tell you, well, actually, about the Carolina Panthers.
There's only one actually I want to give. But it does require you playing the clip from the post-game locker room.
Actually, there's a couple of actuallys if you really wanted to do that. But you know what? I'm not here for the well, we actually are here for the actuallys. Here's the thing. Bryce Young was good. Like, he was good. But let's also understand that the Saints are bad. But before you go,
it's the same team that beat them by 37 in the opener.
Exactly. That's called growth. Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't want CBS out here yucking my yum after the Carolina Panthers beat the Saints and all the good vibes and feelings. They put out that the Panthers are the first team in the Super Bowl era to win a game with under 250 total yards gained, 0 takeaways, and 425 plus total yards allowed. Look, do these men in the picture that they use, Bryce Young and Dave Canales, head coach, embrace, do these men care about those stats? They only care about one stat, Joe. They care about the win.
That's right. There's only one way to win.
You're right. There is only one way to win. And this was Dave Canales after the game in the locker room on the Panthers official YouTube channel. Get a load of this guy.
Can you win the game in the first quarter? No. Can you win the game in the second quarter? No. Can you win the game in the third quarter? No. Can you win the game in the fourth quarter?
Sir, I will point you to...
Oh, no, are we going well actually now?
Sir, let me point you to the opener against the Saints. Let me point you to that home game against the Chargers. Let me point you to the disaster at Washington. Oh, no, it's possible. Heck, even your win over Las Vegas was aided by a really hot start.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, you might want to tweak that messaging just a little bit because your group struggles in that first half. Because you don't want them relying on that fourth quarter surge. Okay.
But the thing is, the fact that they had a fourth quarter, the fact that Bryce Young had a game-winning drive that was then backed up by the defense is good. That's progress. That's confidence building. Stack that, man. I'm not here to tell you, well, actually.
And they were up one, and the defense had to go out and make plays, and they did.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So, all huzzah. Now, the only problem here now, of course, is they're 2-7, and the Saints appear to be on the fast track to usurping their number 1 overall pick.
Joe.
Never something good.
We're here to tell you something good. We are not here to tell you that they might not get the overall number 1 pick in the draft.
Just slow down on those wins.
Although if that means that they have the second pick in the draft and the Saints take the first pick in the draft and it's a quarterback, that means they might actually stumble into the correct pick of the draft, Travis Hunter.
Ooh, really?
Yes.
Not Cam Ward.
No.
Interesting.
Absolutely not.
Interesting.
Stop taking quarterbacks.
Yeah, there's something to be said for that.
They really need to rebuild on the defensive side of the ball.
Defense is bad.
So what do? You go out, you get Travis Hunter.
They're going to get Danny Dimes in a swap with the Giants. Did you see that?
I did see
They
that.
floated the Bryce Young trade theory.
I did see that. No, but we're not here to yuck anybody's yum. I'm actually here to yuck the Saints yum. Here's another wonderful stat that I saw on social media. This one's a doozy, for heaven's sake. This is, let's see where I can find it. Where did it go? There it is. This is Derek Carr, the first QB in history to lose to 31 teams. That's an impressive stat for Derek Carr. The only team he has not lost to yet is the Raiders. So I haven't looked at the Saints schedule, but who's to say that that might not actually happen in the future? But congrats to Derek Carr for losing to 31 NFL teams. History made. And Dennis Allen, congratulations. You have fast-tracked to the coach who's going to get fired. I think that's honestly my favorite takeaway from the weekend. It wasn't, hey, Bryce Young looked competent out there. Hey, nice for glimpses of the future. I mean, the Cokeheads had their moment. I mean, Jalen Coker was pretty good. They refer to themselves as the Cokeheads.
Really?
Jalen Coker fans refer to themselves as the Cokeheads. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I was not aware of this.
Yeah, I know. You got a glimpse of what this offense could be. You got a glimpse of it.
Oh, JT Sanders looked good.
JT Sanders looked good. He had the hurdle, not the hurdle of the weekend. That goes to Saquon Barkley, but that's neither here nor there. What I'm getting at here is The Panthers are so down bad that the conversation coming out of the game isn't, hey, man, Bryce Young looked okay. It was, man, Dennis Allen's going to get his ass fired. How do you lose? That's a fireable offense to lose to the Carolina Panthers. That's the general attitude that's coming out of this game. Okay. Are we done with the positive vibes? Are we ready to get into the, hey, Dave Canales, what are you doing, buddy?
Okay.
Because I think that's actually what my biggest takeaway of the weekend was for the Panthers. This is not me making bold proclamations of, the Panthers can turn their season around, or, hey, you know what? Bryce Young looked like a guy that you can actually build around. He looked like the piece. He looked the part, all that kind of stuff. I'm not going to go that far.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to, if people want to feel good about a victory Monday and have a good time with it, by all means, go to town. I'm just not going to engage with that. It's like the Jets last week.
Yeah.
Like, oh, yeah, cool. Aaron Rodgers did it once. It's like what I used to tell you back in the radio days. Oh, you had a good show on Monday. That's great, Joe.
That doesn't matter.
Go do it again. Because that's the question for Bryce Young. But here's where I think his head coach is not doing him any favors. So here's my issues with Dave Canales, actually. And maybe the win puts a little bit more laser focus on how Dave Canales, what his role has been in not serving the Panthers in the best interest, or even Bryce Young in his best interest. You're cooking. Bryce Young's actually making throws in this game.
Mm-hmm.
You were reluctant to let him go deep in the first two games.
They were I listened to the last drive on the radio.
Yeah.
And Del Holm was like, okay, now is not the time to be conservative. We just have to let him throw. Please take some chances here.
Del Holm was saying that?
Yes.
Del Holm was
in real time.
Absolutely right. Because after they have a drive where he was making throws on the spot, players were making plays. The next drive, they go back to the dink and dunk conservative play that we've seen out of Dave Canales. This ain't the time to be cute. If the whole concern around the Carolina Panthers and Bryce Young has been confidence, why would you do things that would then erode from the confidence? Let the man cook. If he's feeling it, you need to alter how you're going about this game and let him continue to feel it.
Yeah.
Because that's where you build confidence. That's where you develop Bryce Young at this point from where he's been. So I thought it was curious. They went back to that and they got super, super cute. And yeah, there was another delay of game on a freaking 2-point conversion attempt.
I saw that.
Like, come on, y'all. But here's where Dave Canales really has a dereliction of duty as a head coach, coming off a nice game from Bryce Young and not having really seen much of anything from Andy Dalton since the Raiders game. Okay. It was after the game. Dave Canales was asked, all right.
Oh, no. Now, well, I guess it has to be asked. But
it has to be asked.
Yeah.
It has to be asked. And listen for the Joe Person follow-up, because this is what gets back to what I said to you and I said to Mike Kay of the Charlotte Observer last week. They're asking good, fair, pointed questions of Dave Canales, and the way he's been handling it has not been great.
Are you ready to name him starter for next week?
Not yet. We'll take in all the information, watch the film. We got to process. We got to make sure we look at all this stuff, and we'll let you guys know. In the next couple of days.
It was his first game-winning touchdown drive of his career. What would hold you back from naming him the starter?
Again, just looking at all the information we have, taking a look at the film, all that stuff, and making sure that we make the best decision for the team.
Hey,
So that was the exchange after the game. I want to be fair. My biggest complaint so far, what I've seen out of Bryce Young and Dave Canales, is a complete lack of confidence in Bryce Young being able to do what the coaching staff wants him to do.
Or trusting him to do.
Now that you saw for the first time this season, the ability for him to go deep, the ability to connect with his wide receivers, the interception was not on Bryce Young. That interception was just an incredible play by the New Orleans cornerback on Xavier Legette, who needed to secure that ball a hell of a lot more than having it stripped. And it was Moore who dropped a surefire touchdown pass as well. So the mistakes in this game were not on Bryce Young. The mistakes were on his support staff. All right. So that's issue number one. So you go back and you look at the tape and your takeaway is, well, there's some XYZ, the turnovers. No, that wasn't on Bryce. Bryce did what you asked him to do when you allowed him to do it. And to be fair.
Oh, they're in Germany this week in a very winnable game.
Very winnable game. So This was
you probably still trust Andy more than you trust him, right?
Bryce Young was put in this situation only because Andy Dalton got into a car accident.
Mm-hmm.
All right. The only reason why he saw the field was because of a car accident. And while he wasn't great in the Denver game, I get that. And he was put in this position again because Andy Dalton's not back up to 100%.
Right.
He actually did look like a guy who felt some confidence. He did look like a guy that if you went back to him and you built off of what it was, maybe he can help you win a game against the Giants too.
That's the most confident version we've seen of Bryce Young in the NFL.
So if you've been, and I have been lamenting the lack of confidence in Bryce Young.
Yeah.
And you finally see him looking like he's feeling it.
It's hard to do that. You're right.
Why not? And that's why I say I have to be fair about this, because one of my biggest critiques out of Bryce Young and Dave Canales has been twofold. They're not confident in him, and he's not showing confidence. And what's funny about Bryce Young is that maybe I've been unfair to Bryce Young in that he's a lot more resilient than you might give him credit. It's ironic, too, because here was another play that happened with Bryce Young where he's actually running the ball. At one point, he actually lowered the shoulder to try to get a touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing that's funny about Bryce Young, and I made this point last year, and I think I'll double down on it again. Say whatever you want about his frame.
Yeah, he's a munchkin.
You know the one thing he has been that other quarterbacks have not, who are bigger than him, who had all the measurables that people obsess over in terms of size? One thing he hasn't done is gotten hurt. He bounces up. He stays in the pocket. He'll take a hit. In this particular case, he was trying to run for a touchdown. Everybody's freaking out, but he pops right back up. He's not been hurt because I'm not counting the one game he sat for a phantom injury.
We're not sure he was actually hurt.
I'm convinced that he wasn't hurt, that it was actually a benching disguised as an injury because nobody can find you when it actually happened. So I'm sorry, I'm getting a little long-winded here. Back to my point.
It will be tough on his confidence to go to Andy because you're basically saying to him, we don't have confidence in you to win a winnable game for us.
Even though this was a winnable game for them and they won.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about the Giants.
No, what I'm getting at is, to your point, it's more like this to me. It's like what happens with your kids, right?
Mm-hmm.
You ask them to do something.
Like your kids.
It reminds me a lot of your children. You ask somebody to do this. They give you a reason to believe in them finally. And your attitude is still, I still don't know. Well, what more do I need to do? Let me have another crack at it so I can show you that I got it, that I can show you, yeah, you can trust me. When you immediately go, I don't know. Like, what do you mean you don't know? But this gets to the other point. Maybe Dave Canales was so burned by what happened in week 2 that he's not going to make any declarative statements on a Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, there's that.
Because after week 2, he said, Bryce is our guy. And then during the Monday press conference, Andy's our starter. And he didn't waver off Andy from there. So this is 10:42 in the morning. Dave Canales will have his press conference later today as they're getting ready to head out to Germany to take on the Giants. I'll be curious to see what Dave Canales has to say after he has seen the tape. If your takeaway after seeing the tape is that Bryce Young is not your starter against the Giants this week, because you've asked him to show confidence, you've asked him to make these throws, he goes out there and he does those very things you've been asking him to do, what I've asked Bryce Young to look like and do, then you got to go back to him because there is no future with Andy Dalton.
No.
You have to still see what you have in Bryce Young at this point. So try to be fair with this whole situation and stay consistent. And if Bryce Young did the exact thing you've been asking him to do, you got to go back to him. It's as simple as that. But congratulations to the Carolina Panthers. I didn't have any of those poppers. I wanted one, though. Just didn't have it. It's too bad. Big thanks to Roback. You can check them out online at roback.com, RHOBACK.com. Are you opening mail in the middle of the show?
Housekeeping.
What are you doing?
Gotta go to the bank.
I mean, the show's not over.
I know you can handle whatever this read is that you get mad at me for elongating. I'm just trying to expedite the process for you. That's all. No big deal.
Who's that from, by the way?
You want to get paid, right?
I mean, I do need money.
It's our friends from Heister. You could sell your car to Heister Automotive Group.
You can.
HeisterAuto.com. That's a great thing about having North State Bank right 2 doors down from us. Right? It's amazing, actually.
You know what else is amazing?
What?
The comfort and feel of Rowback.
Just wait till you get your hoodie. Although now you've seen the light, you got a new one, or it's a zip that you want? The holiday.
It's the quarter zip. I said, you know what? I'm actually going to buy a quarter zip. It's a holiday quarter zip. It's got reindeer on it. It's got all sorts of great stuff. It's fantastic.
I had a guy stop me in the RV lot. Hey, man. He actually apologized to me. He's like, hey, I'm sorry. I didn't find the podcast until like recently. I was like,
That's
hey,
fine,
that's not a big deal.
Not a big deal.
And he had a Rowback Hillsborough Street shirt on. I said, did you use the promo code? He's like, no. I said, as you already know, those are the most comfortable shirts you can find. OG20, save 20%.
Do it. I'll be taking a hockey break, much like Joe Giglio is taking a let's open up the checks from our corporate sponsors break.
Let's take a break. Let's take a hockey break. Brought to you by Happy and Hill.
I'll be going to the game tomorrow. I'll be hitting the Happy and Hail cart. I'm very excited about that because I don't really feel like eating beige fried foods that are going to make me sleepy while watching the Canes. Although the way the Canes have been playing, and we'll get to this in lightning round, no sleeping on the Canes, man. They've been nothing but excitement. Their best players being their best players.
Was there last night. I'll be back at the L tonight to watch the Wolfpack, and I will be there on Tuesday thanks to our friend Aaron Beard at the Associated Press. That was like riding a bike last night. I felt good.
Felt it in your plums?
I did.
Nice. Go to Happy and Hail. Download the app today. You can order online. You can pick it up and get about your business. Better yet, when you go to the game, check out their cart and eat something that's not going to make you feel sleepy while you're watching the Canes. If you're headed to Lenovo Center, drop on by the Breeze Through on your way, especially if you're thinking about tailgating. They got the beer cave. You're excited about something.
We're going to be at our friends from Breeze Through. I believe it's this Thursday.
Is it this Thursday?
I believe so.
Or is it next Thursday?
Is this a housekeeping?
We already did
a
housekeeping.
meeting?
Maybe we're doing a meeting. Maybe that's the case. We're having a meeting.
Hi.
I feel like we're going to Breeze Through on the 21st. Why am I
hallucinating? I thought it was 11:05.
Okay, maybe I'm hallucinating. We have to go back and look at the Adam text. I can go back and look at that.
Oh, did he send it to both of us?
Pretty sure that he sent it to both of us. But then again, I got a new phone, so things have been very, very weird.
I got it.
Yes, 11:21. I was correct.
Oh, okay.
I was correct. So we'll be at the Breeze Through 11:21. Why are you making a face?
We'll be elsewhere, but
we
got to figure that out. Okay.
Where are we going to be on 11:21? Having another meeting.
I know.
You're very discombobulated today.
Yeah, I am. It's all that organization behind me. I channeled it.
I know you
on the.
Your ADHD is overreacting today. So where are we going to be on the 21st?
We'll figure it out.
In the meantime, go to breezethrough.com. Drop on by Breeze Through and hit that beer cave. Also, big thanks to Butcher's Market. I was at the Butcher's Market yesterday picking up some goodies. They got a great salsa selection, by the way.
Okay.
Went and got the sandwiches. I had the turkey and avocado. That was really good. Kids had the steak and cheese. They loved that. I forgot how the fries are so much on point with whatever seasoning they put on.
Yeah.
Nice salt and pepper. Really, really good. And I picked up some things for the week, all at the Butcher's Market. Again, when I say they got everything, they really do have everything. They even have the seltzers as well. They got 5 Flowers there. They got all sorts of goodies there. Wine selection, beer selection, seasonings, all that kind of stuff. It's all at the Butcher's Market. So go check them out. thebutchersmarkets.com. And the lightning round brought to you by Sam Jones Barbecue. Check them out in downtown Raleigh. This is the Eastern style North Carolina barbecue that will make you go, oh, I get it now. Great sides. And of course,
the beans.
Thanksgiving catering.
The beans, great space, indoor, outdoor. They have an actual event space upstairs that you could use.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see any downsides, sir.
So check out Sam Jones Barbecue. Go. First and foremost, go so you can see what it's all about. And then when you're all about it, go ahead and use that for some catering options this holiday season. We mentioned the Canes earlier, and the Canes remain hot. They came back from that October road trip, the NC State Fair road trip, which was off the charts phenomenal. I don't think anybody expected them to be as good as they were on that road trip. And they've continued the hot streak when they've returned home. You go back to their game against the Boston Bruins. What was that, on Thursday night? And that was more about the Boston.
That's sort of ridiculous.
The Boston Bruins being so bad, but you got to take advantage of a team being bad. Their defense was bad. Their goaltending was bad. Our guy, Matt Porter, who used to cover the ACC for the Miami Herald and the Palm Beach Post back in the day, he's now covering the Bruins for the Globe. He's like, yeah, man, Boston might not be it. So the Canes taking advantage of that. And then last night against the Washington Capitals, 5:00 game, good crowd, all that kind of fun stuff. Old man Ovechkin out there. And
scoring in the left circle on the power play,
which is what he always does.
Yeah.
And that was pretty much the lone bright spot for the Capitals. The rest of it was pretty much what you expect out of the Carolina Hurricanes. Swarming, bunch of shots. And the thing that has been probably the best part about all of this is that after years of wondering, will Marty Necas turn it on? Will Marty Necas be that guy? When you're left with no choice, as Rod Brindamore talked about it with us in the offseason, when there's nobody in front of you and now it's on you, you got to step up. I'm not quite sure you could ask for anything more out of Necas to the start of the season. It's been fantastic.
Yeah, a true playmaker, a true difference maker, also a guy playing in all phases of the game. Listen, you can make plans and look at your numbers and use your spreadsheet, but at some point, you have to play to your potential. And I think Rod Brindamore laid that out pretty bare in the summer and said, people think I don't like Marty. It's not true.
Yeah.
Or they think we have a weird relationship. It's not true.
Yeah.
He's like, I go to bat for Marty more than anybody. And that faith is being paid off with 18 points through 10 games. He was spectacular again last night. Dmitry Orlov was really good last night.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously scoring the 2 goals that he did. But, last year I thought Orlov in the playoffs was a real liability.
Mm-hmm.
Was worried about him and Burns this year. So far, so good on that front with their defense. But last night was a true Canes special. 44 shots, really just controlling the flow of the game. I know the Capitals were playing back to back, but the Capitals have been really good this year. So that was a nice little early season win for the Canes last night.
Yeah, I think the only real question going forward right now is the inconsistencies in Kochetkov, right?
Mm-hmm.
Has he been?
The second goal was off of Slavin's leg.
Yeah, but he also makes incredible I think some people get a little uncomfortable when he gets out of the crease as much as he does, right?
Yeah.
But
he has an unconventional style.
And you got to ride that unconventional style because when it's locked in, hey man, like we've talked about this between Freddie Anderson and Kochetkov. I know Luke always hammers this point as it relates to Freddie Anderson. His floor is higher than that of Kochetkov.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the ceiling of Kochetkov, and as we know, the Canes have run into this, a hot Russian goaltender that knocks him out of the playoffs. You're hoping that maybe the roll of the dice this go round is that Kochetkov can be that hot Russian goaltender that gets you further than you expect. And I think Kochetkov at this point kind of is what he is. So you ride with it. And as I always like to say, you can win games all sorts of ways. And my biggest issue with the Canes has been consistency in scoring. Your guys have to be the ones who do the thing. And that you can't always win games 2-1. You can't always win games 2-0. You got to just score. And I know that sounds oversimplistic, but that has been a big knock for me when I talk about the Carolina Hurricanes is once we get into the playoffs, all of a sudden things get a little tightened up and your guys aren't producing. Hopefully, but that's in the future, man. The big question for the Canes is, or going into the season was, how long was it going to take for the new parts to come together? How long was it going to take for the roles like Marty Necas to step up and actually follow through on the assignment?
Yeah.
And if Matt Porter with the Boston Globe can lament the fact that the Bruins are playing themselves out of playoff contention,
which you can do early.
Yes, you can.
Can't make the playoffs in October, but you can miss them.
And the Carolina Hurricanes have avoided that.
Yeah.
All right. And there's a long history of that.
And then some.
So they've absolutely put themselves in a position to not be sweating it as the season goes on to make the playoffs. So good on the Canes. Love to see that. All right. Next up in the lightning round.
It's a lightning round. It's the lightning round.
back to the NFL, where essentially it was like nonstop viral plays and touchdown celebrations. So you got the Saquon Barkley thing. Turns around, does like something you'd see out of a direct to VHS action movie.
Yes. Jackie Chan jumping over would-be burglars.
So that was pretty amazing. And Saquon's day essentially saves Nick Sirianni from yet another "we should fire him" discourse.
I knew Doug Peterson would have them boys fighting.
They were up 22. Was it 22-0 in that game?
Yes.
And then they find themselves back into it. Now, Doug's probably going to get fired. It is what it is.
Yeah.
But we can save the who's getting fired conversation for another item in the lightning round. But to stay on the viral stuff, you also have the standing on your head touchdown celebrations that took over the weekend.
Oh, Detroit?
It wasn't just Detroit. I forgot where else. I think it happened in Atlanta as well. So all of this happened because of a high school player at Incarnate Word. Okay. If you're watching on YouTube, I'm pulling up the video right now. It's from the Forever First Foundation, Forever First Cards. And I'm going to turn the audio down here. It's a cell phone video of the player. This was Jalen Walthall, pulls it in, and he goes across and he just stands directly on his head. It's like planking, but on your head, so to speak, right? So, of course, this happens in the NFL. You see a couple wide receivers doing this, and everybody's having a good time. Now, I bring this up because this is where my radio scars come out.
Okay.
Because of the viral sensation of these guys doing this, how many radio hosts across the country will you see when the social media manager comes to them saying, all right, we got to do something here.
Stand on your head.
Hey, I know what. This is where my brain is wired. You just did an awesome segment, nailed the break. You're on time. Hit that legal ID. All right, turn off the microphone, take your headphones off, and then stand on your head in celebration.
It's interesting that your takeaway from the NFL was that it was a good weekend.
Well,
because I watched the Giants and the Commandos.
This gets to
they combined for -4 passing yards in the first quarter of that football game. So I'm going to need the rest of you to catch up with me on this. The NFL is fucking garbage.
We've got a lot to get to. It's a lightning round.
Is it garbage, or are you just watching the worst games possible?
I'm saying there's 2 interesting games per week. That's the quota.
If we did the math in terms of what were interesting games any given Sunday over time, don't you think that's probably what it works
Has
itself
always
out
been?
to?
No,
like 2 or 3 games. I'm convinced that
I don't think
I'm convinced that the NFL schedule, as spread out as it is, from Thursdays to Monday to Europe games to Mexico games, right? It's so spread out over the course of the day that we are actually getting to witness games that usually would be buried in a 1 o'clock slot that you'll never see.
That's a good point.
Okay.
We're being exposed to more games because they have stretched their schedule out, so they make sure that every day of the week has football.
Every day of the week essentially has football, and it's now easier than ever to watch games that otherwise you would have needed a Sunday ticket package to watch.
Sure.
Okay. So when you're
That's a fair point.
So when you're exposed to what are traditionally 1 o'clock your market only games, unless you're desperate to watch it out of market, you get this crap.
Jaden Daniels has been the most interesting player in the NFL all year.
I know.
Joe, 1 yard.
I know.
They threw for 1 yard in the first quarter. The Giants threw for -5.
I know.
In the first quarter.
I know.
Okay.
I know.
So,
and that's a game that we probably wouldn't have watched in a normal time. That's all I'm saying.
That's fair.
You know,
let's just say the most interesting quarterback in the NFL, right?
Yeah.
However many years ago, pick them. Brady,
sure.
Manning,
sure.
Drew Brees, Phillip Rivers. I don't know. Just pick one.
Yeah, I feel like that's a separate conversation.
But I'm trying not to impugn Jaden Daniels. What I'm getting at though is like, here's the one thing that's supposed to be good about the NFL, and it's not even that interesting if you catch him on the wrong day, which apparently I did catch him on the wrong day. And don't worry, the Chiefs will save the day tonight with a 19-16 win over the Buccaneers. There'll be 12 combined field goals and 34 penalties on the Buccaneers and none on the Chiefs. Oh, I just spoiled it for you.
Oh,
My bad. Sorry
about that.
Topics, stack it up. Giglio's roll back it up. Well, I know what we'll do. A lightning round.
The under right now.
On the on the Chiefs game?
Buccaneers Chiefs.
Okay.
It's 45.5.
One last NFL item.
It's a spite bet.
It's
if I've
taken
ever
us.
seen one.
It's taken us over an hour to reference the Dallas Cowboys. If you're listening to anything national, the Dallas Cowboys were probably in the A block of anything that you were listening to
Sure.
nationally, because of course the Dallas Cowboys lost to the Atlanta Falcons, and they looked pretty putrid in the process of losing to the Atlanta Falcons. And there's also a clip of Dak Prescott, who's got some hamstring issues. You can see him mouthing, "We effing suck." Right? "We effing suck." That, of course, got Stephen A. Smith all fired up. He's on social media about it and everything else. And I know the discourse is going to be around Mike McCarthy, but Mike McCarthy is not going to be the coach who's fired. Jerry Jones is making some sort of weird ass point with Mike McCarthy the rest of the season, and then they'll move on from him when the season's over. It's not going to happen in the middle of the season. So you can move off of that. The real question is, going back to the Saints game, I did not have the Saints coach on my bingo card of a guy who could get fired before, say, Nick Sirianni, who I know Eagles fans still wanted to fire, after a win.
Yeah.
And Doug Peterson's another guy that, given where Trevor Lawrence is right now after that contract, it is much easier to fire Doug Peterson than it is to get yourself out of a Trevor Lawrence contract. You have to make the Trevor Lawrence thing work. All right. So I did not have on my bingo card. The guy was Dennis Allen. Most people could not identify the Saints coach out of a lineup. They probably still think it's Sean Payton. He's doing double duty in Denver and in New Orleans, right? But this week, if it doesn't, it's 11:03 in the morning. If he doesn't get fired today, I'd be shocked, because that team's going nowhere, because they got the negative streak going on right now.
You could have all 3 teams other than Washington fire their coach in the NFC East.
Yep.
You could have 2 teams potentially fire their coach in the NFC South. And then looks like the West is pretty safe because they're all relatively new. Jacksonville done. What do the Dolphins do with your boy? What do the Jets do? The Jets already need a coach. They fired their coach, right?
The Dolphins part is interesting.
Maybe the Bengals finally say.
Yeah,
they're so cheap though. That
Bengals are too cheap. Here, interesting that you bring up the Dolphins. They lost.
I don't think they should, but I'm just.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Well,
I don't know.
Hold on. I think the window for the Dolphins is closed.
Yeah.
Okay. You're right down to the point where Tyreek Hill actually wants to go back to the Chiefs. Now, if you're the Chiefs,
2 weeks ago it was, oh no, I'm good. Now
it's like,
actually,
if
I liked winning.
If I'm the Chiefs, I'd say, hey man, we're doing fine. I don't care what Giglio says.
What pay cuts you need?
Maybe he does take a massive pay cut. I have no idea. The thing that would concern me if I'm a Dolphins fan, and I'm a Dolphins fan adjacent, I'm Dolphins fan by blood, if you will, right? Is that Mike McDaniel's supposed genius really struggled without Tua Tagovailoa. And there were even questions about Tua Tagovailoa and just how good he could be.
Yeah.
And we have all of last year, as I railed, constantly pounding the table about how the Dolphins were a luxury car, that the minute they hit a speed bump, they would leak oil everywhere. They beat nobody good last year. Nobody good.
You were right.
All right.
You were right.
And they still had a chance to beat the Bills. It took a 61-yard field goal for the Bills to win that game.
This
past week, right?
Yeah.
And the Dolphins look more competent with Tua Tagovailoa back at center. The problem is every time Tua Tagovailoa runs, you're fearing the worst.
Yeah.
So the vibes around the Dolphins are just ultimately bad. And what I get back to is, unlike a Kyle Shanahan, who has all the pieces around, and you started to see Brock Purdy's shine wear off when all those pieces around him were hurt, it's almost the inverse with Mike McDaniel. Like, dude, you've got all these luxury pieces, and you still can't make your offense go without Tua Tagovailoa. That should be a plug-and-play situation, an absolute plug-and-play situation. And they continue to find themselves on the losing end against good teams. That's not good enough. So the Mike McDaniel genius stuff, the hot young guy with the shades and all that stuff, I don't want to say he's like baby Amato here, but after a while, all that stuff wears off if you're not backing it up with wins. And Miami might, Miami's going to look at you going, oh, yeah, you're cosplaying, bro. This ain't it. So that's my last thoughts on the Dolphins. Last. Shout out to Ryan Clark and the Enloe Eagles high school football team in the playoffs, Joe. In the freaking playoffs, after a string of no wins, all win. They turned the corner last year, and it's paying off with the playoff run this year.
That's awesome.
Now, I don't know if that has anything to do with the fact that they've been inspired by Caleb and the Enloe Eagles marching band, who had a fantastic Carey Band Day on Saturday, right down to Kelly and the pit crew winning best pit crew at Carey Band Day for their division.
Also awesome.
Okay. I don't know if the two are together or they've really seen a turnaround ever since we did our OG game day from Enloe last year. The vibes, they keep positive. We should get Ryan in the studio to celebrate Enloe.
That would be fun.
Making the freaking North Carolina playoffs, high school playoffs. Let's freaking go, Enloe. Or as I like to say, SCO Eagles. Big thanks to Mosquito Authority and Pest Authority. Contact them today at bugsbite.com. You can bundle and save with Mosquito Authority and Pest Authority. I actually had Mosquito Authority come out to the place last week. Still getting that North Carolina weird fall days, right? Where it's cold one day, warm the next, cool in the morning, but hot in the afternoon. Things can still be active out there. So contact our friends at bugsbite.com. Also, Two Roosters. TwoRoosters.com is the website. Go get your
chocolate chess pie.
Okay, now the pie is only available the week of Thanksgiving. That's important. You can't order it ahead. The ice cream flavor, though, all there. Now, I know this is an upset because I've been told by several sources that the chocolate chess pie is the best flavor that they've had and that they've ever had. It's like a fan favorite, this whole thing. The sweet potato casserole is the greatest thing I've had since the peanut butter cookie. Sweet potato casserole. Have you ever had like a sweet potato casserole with like the marshmallow and the
I love
nuts?
Yes, I love sweet potato casserole.
Yeah, it's a vanilla base with marshmallow, nuts, sweet potato.
All right, I'm in.
Yes, it's delicious.
Maybe I'll go to Nature's Relief before that. To
enhance your experience.
Go to naturesreliefmstore.com. I may or may not have scrounged to the freezer to see if there was any leftover shakes. And I did. Let them defrost a little bit. And let me tell you, man, that shake hit. Nice. Nature's Relief. So go to naturesreliefhempstore.com, RELEAF hempstore.com. If you're just looking to melt on the couch, they got stuff for that. If you're just looking to take some edge off anxiety, sleep better, they got that stuff too. Again, they have what you are looking for. You just got to drop on by, ask some questions, and they'll point you in the right direction. Now, I'm sitting here talking about chocolate chess pie and hidden shakes and all this other stuff. You know what that means.
You better get over to O2, sir.
No good ice cream binge goes unpunished. Now, all jokes aside, it's actually been good to get over to O2 Fitness Clubs. You can check them out online at o2fitnessclubs.com. With O2 Fitness, it's more than gym, as we mentioned. But yeah, for like gym purposes, convenience, location, all that matters. They're all over the triangle. There's a location near you. You can find it at the website. And it's been good to work up a sweat, man. I've been getting back into the workout routine for my mentals, as Marshawn Lynch would say.
Yeah.
Got to get the mentals, pop the earbuds in, listen to a podcast, and just go sweat, man. That's what it's all about.
And I'm ready. I get Krista this afternoon, my Renew physiotherapy. She takes good care of me. We got TENS, we got heat, we got stretches, we got a massage. We got a lot of different things going on. We got our dry needling still, stimulate those areas, get you going. A lot of different options. You might be like me. Maybe you're like, I saw a chiropractor. I've done this. I've done that. Truth of the matter is, it's a long process. You got to take care of yourself. Get the professionals at O2 Fitness and Renew Physiotherapy to help you in that process.
All right, let's get out of here with some Hey Joe questions. This is from Matthew on Twitter. Getting a delay of game on 2-point conversion. Dave Canales is out here winning side missions. Get delay of game on 2-point conversion and still win game. Winning by less than 3 with 2 minutes left equals 750 bonus coins.
And with being outgained and no turnovers. And yeah,
it's funny. Nada had tweeted something out about going back to conservative play. And I just floated out. I said, yeah, maybe Dave Canales realized, shit, if Bryce Young is good, it means I can't go back to Andy. So let me go back to conservative play. Look, man, I don't know what Dave Canales was doing there in the second part of that game and getting conservative again. I'm curious to see what he has to say during today's press conference. From Kenneth, literally as soon as the Panthers clinched that game, tell me something good immediately popped into my head, and now it won't leave. Thanks for that. I love that we've got catchy things for the people out there. Love to see that. And finally, I did not mean this to be trolly. It was a legitimate question.
Okay.
Given how CJ Bailey and the offense has looked as of late.
Oh, you
for
got
NC
yourself
State.
into the discourse. I see.
And I said, how much is it going to cost to keep CJ Bailey in an NC State uniform next season? Now, I kind of got a low ratio on Twitter about this. And a lot of people saying, hey, depending on the price, between him and KC, who do you pay? Half the NIL budget, nada with the limit does not exist. There's all sorts of ways. What was another one that I thought was amusing? It was the everything. So a lot of people were pointing out, Blue Waiver, $1 million. Theo, though, did have a very good point. Sad, that's the question. And I agree.
I mean, that's sad that's the question. Like that's where you are, people. That's where we are.
But that's like
what are you talking about?
That's the sad part. That is the sad part. Hear me out on this. And we can explore this a little bit more tomorrow. In that, NIL and roster construction and how you think about a season, especially if you're in the middle class, as you like to say, Joe, has gotten us to a point where you can enjoy a 59-point outburst by NC State. And the immediate thought is, shit, how much is it going to cost that guy to keep that guy if Miami's also looking for a quarterback and he's from that area? And Cam Moore's not going to be there. Like, shit, this sucks. What are we going to do, right? It's just how it all just kind of plays out that way. And I got an email from a gentleman, Brent, over the weekend after I put that out there. He's like, I didn't want to put this on Twitter, but he did point out, just listen to the ACC Panic Room. And he talked about CJ Bailey and the risk of him possibly heading back home next season after Ward leaves Miami. Guessing you had not seen his post-game tweet about joining One Pack right after the game, since you did not mention it. Thought it was pretty cool of him to do, even if it is only $25 a month. And I wonder if this points to him being super happy here and not wanting to leave. This is what I call...
No one's predicting that he's going to leave, but we are predicting, yes, it's important that you're able to hold on to him and take care of him.
This is what we call a tease in the business. We'll explore this a little bit more tomorrow.
Okay.
Because I do think it's a legitimate question for NC State's future.
Sure.
If this season is going to play out the way we typically expect out of the Dave Doran special, and maybe Dave has learned some lessons from this with grad transfers, and you clearly have a guy, and let's build around him and his development, and that's what I really do. All right, well, how does that change not just you as a coaching calculus, but also what, like you talked about earlier, replacement level players and everything else? Is it wiser to invest in who you have than it is to go out and get somebody else? But we'll explore that topic tomorrow on the podcast.